We were on Question Time. So what was it like?
Tell me about it.
So I applied to be on Question Time a few weeks before it was on. If you go on the BBC's website, it's got a list of everywhere where it's appearing, and you can apply via there. The first stage is you fill in you complete a form, and it asks lots of just basic personal information, but then it starts to get into more political related information. So
So personal information like age and gender and I mean not
age,
personal.
age, gender, what do you do for a job, those kinds of things.
Mm.
And then it asks you things like, have you previously been a member of a political party? How did you vote on Brexit? How did you vote in the last general election? So it starts to kind of get into your political interests.
Okay, because they reckon they want to balance the audience.
Yeah, as I understand it, it's to represent how your constituency voted in the last election. They want to make it as accurate and close to that as possible.
And reflecting the Brexit vote in the same constituency.
Exactly.
Imagine.
And the constituency you were on the programme in was
Suffolk Coastal, Teresa's Coffee.
Yeah.
Minister,
which voted leave during the referendum.
Okay. So you filled in the form, sent it off.
Yeah.
What's next?
Then obviously, I imagine they do some kind of sift, because they then will contact you and ask to first of all, they ask you to come up with 2 questions to discuss on an interview on the phone. I was interviewed by the producer of the show. And I believe, Philip, you were interviewed by the production assistant.
But one of the assistants, and it's clear that my interview was much less detailed than yours. Because I wasn't asked about my questions.
So what happened in yours? Leopard print hat, to use your Twitter handle.
So my interview was actually pretty long. It went on for well over half an hour. They initially asked me about my first question, which obviously was what actually Philip asked on Question Time, which is why are neither of the main 2 political parties talking about Brexit and the damage it's doing to the economy. So I talked about that. I was quite, I don't want to say cunning, but I was pretty careful to not rant, because I didn't think that's what they wanted. So I did try to sound as eloquent and level-headed as possible. But she wasn't interested in that question at all, really, which I was quite surprised about, because it's such a huge issue. But yeah, my second question was about there's a Eurolink thing being put here in Suffolk. I live on I live in an SSI, so it's half Suffolk Wildlife Trust, half RSPB. It's got extremely rare
site of special scientific interest.
Yeah, exactly. And they're planning to put this absolutely, I think it's 30 meters wide or something, interconnector there. She was much more interested in that. So lots of questions about that. During the course of talking about that, I actually had to go and ask my mum stuff, because she's much more clued up on it than I am. And the producer then asked if she could actually speak to my mum on the phone. And then before we knew it, my mum also was coming to Question Time as well. We both ended up.
So you both went. I think there are 2 reasons for the discussion of the question. One is it might be a especially interesting local question that they want to explore, and they may have just heard that from you. But I think also that process is sometimes they would kind of want to check that you're reasonably articulate, whatever the question is.
And maybe my interview wasn't so detailed because they weren't so interested in the questions I asked. I mean, I put a lot of questions, and I kept on putting questions because they kept on giving us opportunities to put them forward. And my partner actually, she wasn't successful, and she'd heard nothing. Where I was accepted, and they started down the process, but she just she emailed the production assistant on the day, and she said, "Come along."
Okay, so I was going to talk about the 2 of you getting on the program, but it was actually the 4 of you.
It was,
as it turned out, though you didn't know each other beforehand.
We did not know. We met just after it finished filming on the way out.
Okay.
Your mum came up to me and said, well done, you did very well, and I was grateful for that. And then you came along and talked to us.
That's how we made friends.
Okay, but what was the next step after? So you were accepted with, in each case, one other person to be in the audience. What happened next?
So you arrive at, we did it in St Maltings, which is there, it's like a music opera kind of venue. So it's very beautiful. So we arrived, and there's quite a lot of us. It was a big question time. I want to say over 100. It felt like it, or somewhere in that region. They kind of put you in a green room. It's just a big room with like teas and coffees and lots of people in there. And yeah, as Philip mentioned, you get to submit another question on the day. So you submit 2 before, and then you submit 1 on the day. And of course, it was the day of the budget. So there's a big flurry of activity. There's loads of people submitting questions. They ask you to rewrite them and things like that. Have you thought of a better way to phrase it? So I think that's really actually how they pick them, is the best worded question out of all the ones they get submitted. So yeah, we're in there for quite a while, like over an hour, I think.
Yeah, and then Fiona Bruce came out and gave us a pep talk and talked about how it was going to work.
And she emphasized that the real importance part of it is us. It's what we say. Like, she encouraged us to put our hands up, to interject.
She said that over and over again.
Yeah.
She really
Okay.
wanted input. Yeah.
All right. So you've submitted all your questions, and then you're drinking your teas and coffees while they're working out which questions they're going to ask. So what happened next?
Well, you don't actually, so you submit all your questions, but you don't actually find out whether your question's been chosen until they take you through then to where it's going to be filmed. And that's when you find out. So it's very last minute, actually. And they do things like they test the cameras, they test the mics, and then they started asking mock questions.
Funny questions. Just to warm us up, and you gradually get acclimatized, and you feel more comfortable in a studio with the lights.
Exactly.
And the way the microphone's going to move over.
I gather you didn't have a mock panel. When I was in the audience, they asked for a mock panel. I was on it for checking the camera angles, but they managed without in your case.
No mock panel.
No.
Just
no
mock
panel.
questions. They started asking about like foxes and badgers, and it got onto dog walkers. So I asked, why do people hang those black bags of dog poo on trees? Which people could, a lot of people applauded.
Yep, good question. Okay, and then the panel came in. Were you determined to intervene in the way that you did?
Oh yeah, like I wasn't going to let them speak about the economy and not talk about Brexit. I've been waiting for it to come near me so I could go on it. As you can see, I was very ready with stats and statistics. And they started talking. So Victoria Atkins, the financial secretary from the Treasury, was asked a question about austerity. And she was talking about austerity in the economy. And she was just waffling on without talking about the elephant in the room. So I just stuck my hand up straight away, and rest is history.
And what I think is really interesting is, really powerful TV, is that while she was then talking in response to your comment, your face was a picture, and the camera therefore focused on you.
Not only just then, he panned back to me a lot as well when Kate Andrews was speaking. I think that was the best meme. I was really unhappy with what she was saying. But yeah, it wasn't acting. It's absolutely totally genuine. They're lucky I didn't get a rebuttal, because I think my face told how it might have gone.
Didn't throw anything at them.
I was sitting there thinking, if the camera's going to be on me, I want to look very serious. And
you chipped in then on.
I mean, I've been living Brexit for 6 years, and it hasn't gone away. And like a lot of people, I was going to be on live TV at some point. I was going to say something, because this is my chance to
exactly.
In one of the biggest platforms of all, to actually say what was on my mind. But your intervention was so eloquent and so direct, and then Atkins, she waffled.
How did the audience react?
Huge applause.
Great enthusiasm. About 3/4 were agreeing with us.
And those that weren't speaking out against it either. No. There was no one backing the government.
No, there were no mutterings. It was there was just silence from a few people.
Okay. And so you changed the course of the debate.
What I think happened is that actually lots of people had submitted questions about Brexit. So when Fiona Bruce, when we interjected, and there was such applause, you could just feel it in the room. You could feel people agreed with us. I think that producer in the ear maybe said, go on, and then she's introduced it as a formal question, and the rest is history.
So did you enjoy the experience?
Absolutely loved it.
It was fantastic.
Yeah, it was incredible.
Okay, would you recommend to other people to go
I
on the
really
question
would.
time audience?
You must go on it. We need you to go on it. It's an incredible experience.
Yeah.
I think that often the more we speak about democracy, and it's quite an abstract concept, like, you know, you vote every 5 years, like maybe you vote in local elections, but this was real democracy, you know, like it really felt like that we made an impact. We got a chance, we got a platform to speak to the people literally making the laws. And yeah, it's absolutely incredible.
Would you go on to the question time audience again if you could?
I don't think they'd allow me to, but I would love to.
I would, yes.
All right. Well, if they have a limit on coming back again, so okay, maybe not the audience. Would you go on to the question time panel if they invited you?
I would love nothing more.
I would.
Yeah, I'd absolutely love to go on the panel.
Okay, all right. Well, we'll have to tweet this video to the BBC and
Yeah.
let them know that that you're offering.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you both very much.
Thank you, Mike.
That was really interesting and great encouragement there for people to take part in democracy through question time. And of course, on BBC, the radio, there's any questions, there's any answers as well.
LBC as well. Like there's so many things. There's so many ways to get people heard.
But Radio 5 phone-ins are, I think, a really good forum. You know, it's the messages come through there earlier than they do from the politicians somehow. I forget who was saying it the other day, but maybe it was Alistair Campbell. The public are ahead of the politicians. And the journalists.
Yeah. Okay.